Happy Friday. Hello, and hope you're getting ready for a wonderful weekend. I decided I would record this video. I've been thinking about it for several months, but I had an experience this week that it was my motivation for saying, look, just get it recorded, put it out there. Have no idea if it's worth listening to, but maybe it will be motivational or inspirational for someone who finds themselves in the situation. So this particular message is for those who um, are writing dissertations or theses or working on any writing project, especially those that are research-based, evidence-based, scholarly in nature. I think this message probably is going to have particular appeal to fellow people of color, my brothers and sisters who are out there working on theses, dissertations, and those who might be weary right now from the weight of stereotype threat as it weighs on you in this writing exercise. Those who are um, sort of buried under the burden of proof that comes along with trying to prove yourself to others or to demonstrate that you're ready and that you can do this. To those who are, in my opinion, losing time practicing the performance of confidence and competence, to put it on full display in front of a committee of people, members, could be editorial board members, reviewers, or experts whose clear vision of you will be blocked and overshadowed by the dark shadows of low expectations. They'll be blocked and overshadowed by the dark shadow of implicit bias and systemic racism, that they won't be able to see you clearly or to even appreciate your contributions fully, because that will be blocked or overshadowed or cast over by the dark shadows of their own limited possibilities, their limited perspectives, their limited lenses that will think that a study can only be done one way, that a theory can only be employed in a certain context, that a certain methodology has to follow lockstep, certain steps and certain paths, and that data analysis must only happen according to one epistemology or worldview. My message is actually for you, for those who are wrestling with that, who are resisting that. So what's my point? My points are pretty simple. One is that a done dissertation is a good dissertation. So you want to do a hefty job with the dissertation or the thesis. You want it to be important. You want it to be scholarly. You want it to be rigorous, but you want it to be done. So you want to map out a study that's got some bounds to it, that will certainly address a gap in the literature, that it is informed by the existing literature base, that is well researched and well reviewed, but that you don't build a study with so many research questions, piling on so many literature or theoretical frames and employing so many methods that you'll never get it done. You'll never finish. So I support student success. I'm all about student success. I want doctoral students and master students to do theses and dissertations that have some bounds, that are important studies that make a contribution, but a done dissertation is a good dissertation. And I think what causes some of us to wrestle, to put more out there and propose more than I think is necessary, is exactly what I talked about. It's that when you live in Black and brown and bodies of color in this country, that you will often find yourself trying to prove to others that you are ready, prove to others that you can do it, prove to other people that you are competent and that you have the capacity to carry out the dissertation, that you're ready for this final lap of the thesis at the master's level or the dissertation. And I just want to say to those of you who are dealing with that and you're working under that burden, that you need to throw that off. You need to celebrate yourself, liberate yourself, that is not the purpose of this assignment. The purpose of the dissertation is not for you to demonstrate that you took qualitative methods or that you passed stats. Your grade in stats does that. Your grade in advanced qualitative methods, your grade in theoretical frameworks, your grade in the history of higher education or the history of history whatever the courses were, that your grades in those classes, the grades on your assignments, your progress through your program demonstrated that you are ready. Now you're at this at this sort of pinnacle point where you're ready to do the culminating exercise, and that is independent research. And so you want to not create hurdles for yourself that you are going to jump through to demonstrate to people that, see, I really do know it. We're going to trust that you know it, and that whether we're your chair or your advisor or on your committee, that the program did a good job of assessing whether or not you had acquired the skills and the foundational knowledge to get to the end of your program. Now that you're there, the important point is to address the research, to identify a researchable problem that can be addressed rigorously and methodologically through sound methods, sound theory, sound steps, with an appropriate level of analysis, adequate level of deep analysis to yield insights and results that are fresh and make a contribution. Okay, the second thing I think is this term defense can be a bit of a misnomer, right? So defense conjures up this mental image of defense. I got to stand up against people and, no, you can't change this. You can't, don't come over here. I'm trying to keep you over there, like you might see at a sports event. And I think that metaphor doesn't work very well, especially not for what you want at a dissertation or thesis defense for a proposal where you're proposing the study. And I think a better way of thinking about it is you don't want to defend, you actually want to do more listening and talking and conversating and explanation of why this particular topic, why you're thinking about these methods, how these theoretical frames act as lenses for you to see things that might otherwise be concealed, or they provide language to interrogate or talk about your particular topic. So we want to move away from this idea of no, I'm going to do it my way. I've already written it out, and if I've got 70, 80, 90 pages down, so I can't change it, to a conversation where we lean in for understanding and we accept the feedback and we embrace it, because we understand that that dialogue really improves the idea, it improves and enriches the question. It makes the project that much stronger. And then lastly and finally, that you would work to make the implicit explicit, that you would work to make obvious the things that are less obvious, that rather than feel like you have to conceal or hide what you're doing in your thesis, your dissertation, your journal article, your book chapter, that you would upfront sort of make the hidden known. Good example. All right, so if you know that you are intentionally trying to set up a project that critiques the existing literature that has failed to give voice, has failed to pay attention to the contributions of Latina or Chicano women, that you're going to do this more than just reviewing the contributions of Chicano writers to the literature, but you're also going to privilege their voices. You're going to amplify their voices. You're going to create a space in your journal article or in your dissertation for their voices to be front of center, not marginalized or to the periphery. Therefore, you are intentionally moving the emphasis away from the canonical authors, or those who everybody will say, but you got to cite them, but you got to cite them. Then I think you just write that. You say that up front. As you write your literature review, you explain to the reader why you're about to experience what you're about to experience in my writing. I think that is scholarly activism at its finest. I think it is liberation theology, it's liberation pedagogy, it's liberation writing, or liberatory writing, that allows the scholar to engage in activism, a public form of activism, through their writing. But by putting it in your writing or putting it in the marginal notes or putting it in a footnote and writing it out, it does not allow the reviewer or the editor to think that something is absent or missing, which it goes back to as I close my beginning thoughts, right? That some folks will always, their lens will always be tainted. It'll always be colored by the dark shadow of low expectations, the dark shadow of implicit bias, that it must be an omission. It must be that they didn't know. It must be that they forgot to cite it, that they didn't read it, they didn't have access, rather than what it is I think most of us are nowadays engaged in. It's a more critically conscious form of writing. It is an activist form of writing. It is, in many ways, the way in which scholars of color activate their social justice through their scholarship and through their writing. I am not one who believes that you have to wait until you have the MED or the PhD or the MA or the MD or the JD or whatever degree you're seeking. You don't have to wait until you have those initials to engage in this exercise. Dare I say, we can't wait for some to engage in this exercise. We need all of the voices that have something to say that's important, that can be contributed to all of the movements that are going on, to say it now, to sound their trumpet, to use sort of spiritual tonation, but to do it now without delay, but to do it in a way that, one, will lead to a completed and a done dissertation, to do it in a way that will turn the defense into a conversation that improves what we're about, that embraces and welcomes feedback, critical feedback, that doesn't always have to be accepted, but should at least be entertained and engaged and talked about. And then lastly, that it will lead us to make explicit the things that we are trying to do that often go unspoken, implicit, or hidden. I hope this is helpful. Thanks.